Welcome to J is for Justice podcast. If live breaking news and following true crime is your thing, then please consider subscribing to my channel. And if you like what you see in my videos, please consider giving them a thumbs up. Hello? You should be able to hear me now. My thing came unplugged. Let me know if you can hear me okay. I wasn't muted. But good afternoon. It is February the 26th. Welcome to J is for Justice. My name is Jay and I'm your host. Thank you. Ooh, I got my free Streamlabs shirt. But welcome back. I was not muted though. I was a muted looking ass, but I'm not anymore. So welcome back, guys. My mic was unplugged. Like from the wall. So welcome back, everybody. Hello, Kelly Barrison. Thank you to all the moderators that came in today. Kendi, Angie B. Before we begin today, we're going to be talking about Coburger. We do have a hearing coming up on Wednesday. So I figured we haven't talked about him in a while because there's really not a whole lot new, if anything. But I wanted to kind of just touch base on the whole genetic genealogy thing because that's what they're going to be talking about. So at that hearing on Wednesday, which is going to be at 1:00 their time, which will be almost 4 hours, I guess. Yeah, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. Melissa B., thank you for gifting a membership. And Kelly Barrison, welcome. John Gone Girl, welcome. Before we get into all of the IGG and what they're going to be doing at this hearing, I thought we could kind of cover what they're going to be going over at the hearing. And then I found a really interesting article on the IGG, actually 2 of them. 2 of them. So the question is, could the FBI actually change the way they do this genetic genealogy investigation after this Kohberger case? Because it seems like it's gotten a little messy on the IGG front. Now, good afternoon, Frag. Good afternoon, Nevada cops. We have a very special member who has a very special birthday tomorrow. And I just saw, she said in chat, that she doesn't celebrate her birthday anymore since her dad passed away. And that hurts my heart to hear that. So not only is her birthday tomorrow, and we will go live tomorrow, just so I can wish you a happy birthday. But Andrea, it's your birthday tomorrow, but we're going to celebrate today and tomorrow to make up for whatever birthdays you haven't celebrated. Because every year that you are still here with us is a great year. Hi, Mims. Hi, Steph. And I think I missed some super chats. Drea, thank you for your super chat. I missed you as well. 11 months for Sunshine Stacy. Unbelievable. Almost a year. And thank you again, Melissa, for donating a membership to Kelly Barrison. fine. Kelly Barrison, she loves me because I'm the only one that ever said her name right. Like, I mispronounce everything, but like, I get some people's names spot on and then they just love me for it because other people pronounce it wrong. But that's probably because my old name was Stadelbauer. So if you had to be a Stadelbauer, you would understand. But Drea, I want you to enjoy your day. I think your dad would want you to enjoy your day. I don't want to speak for your dad, but being a mom, I would think that he would want you to have a good birthday. So we're going to do a little birthday for Drea right now. And then we're going to also do it tomorrow, but we're going to do it today too. So Drea, this is for you, honey. We love you here.
Go, shorty. It's your birthday.
You say it's your birthday. Well, it's my birthday too. Yeah. Happy birthday. Happy early birthday. And to anybody else out there who has friends or family members having a birthday today, happy birthday to them as well. Good afternoon, Micro Kimmy. Kristen Shuddy. Kristen Shuddy. The T is silent. Am I right? Hey, Mike C. All right, so let's start with our poll. Will they schedule a trial this week? What do you guys think? Because they were tossing around. Hey, Northern Beans. They were tossing around this summer. Well, actually, not tossing it around. The state wanted this summer. They were ready to go. And then they started tossing around early next year. Oh, yes, it's Shell's grandson's birthday, too. Oh, my gosh, Liam, this one's for you. Liam is 2.
Go, shorty. It's your birthday.
You tell little Liam happy birthday from Rue and Bella and Jay and Chad Dad. The T is silent, but shooty. Okay, shuddy, shooty. I was pretty close. Pisces unite. How exciting. A second birthday. So cute. He has a little race car birthday theme going on. I can't believe he's 2 either. My grand is going to be 5 in a few weeks. In a month. She's going to be 5. 5! Hey, one-eyed Flobo. Liam, old Flo loves your granny. Happy birthday. You guys are awesome. Pisces and me, I don't think we get along good. Kaylee, I hope they do too. Absolutely, Drea. That's absolutely. You're part of a fam, and this is our fam, and your day is special. So let's get into today's live. Thank you for joining. Just as a quick reminder, yesterday I dropped episode 2 of my Watts podcast, the audio-only podcast called On Air with Jay is for Justice. You can hear it on Apple, Spotify, anywhere you can play a podcast, you should be able to find it. So also on YouTube. It does upload here too. Good afternoon, Jess and Lucia. And Kimmy. And then tonight we have a special premiere. I'm going to be dropping in parts Nicole Schmidt, Gabby Petito's mother, her deposition. And it's pretty long. And from the looks of it, her dad's is even longer. So it's going to be a process. So bear with me. But Petito is being kind with the time difference. We recorded Nicole's. So part 1 of Nicole's, it's probably going to be a total of 6 hours for just Gabby's mom. But I think it's really, really important to complete Gabby's story, so to speak. So I hope you will join me tonight at 7 or 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for part 1 of Nicole Schmidt. And I promise you, it's not like traumatizing or heavy. That woman is, based on what I could see in the transcripts, she was very strong. So it's not something that's going to be hard to listen to. I mean, it is hard to listen to, but it's not over the top. She's very strong. But the details that are in there, y'all, let me just give you one little spoiler. Do you guys remember after the Moab incident, that picture of Gabby was released and it looks like she's bleeding? Her face has blood on it. I know you guys have seen it. Well, that blood was not hers. That was Brian's blood. As if that's not disturbing, right? So yeah, that's going to be in Nicole's deposition. So I hope if you guys are interested in the Petito laundry case that you will tune in for her parents. I just think it's a very important story to tell. A lot of balls were dropped. And unfortunately, Gabby's life was the cause of it. But after hearing Nicole and then going back, and I started listening to the people who gave Brian a ride, said he was hitchhiking, people who saw him, that back then we were like, what? Like, can this even be real? It's all real. It's all real. Her ring cut his face, and he must have taken the blood and he grabbed, remember when she said he grabbed her cheeks? He had blood on his hands and he grabbed her cheeks. So that's one of the things. So let's move on to Coburger. That will be tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is premiering, so I'll be live in chatting with you all. And I'm excited to do that because then I get to actually listen to it. Because when I'm reading, I don't really comprehend it all. So I wanted to take an opportunity to actually listen with you guys. That will be tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here. There is an event already up. So let's get into Kohberger. So Kohberger has a hearing, and what they're going to be deciding at this hearing is if certain investigators can view the IGG information, which means the family trees. They want to see, the data of how they found Brian, which would include, people's personal information and such. But I found this article, and that's what made me want to go over this. They're also going to talk about scheduling. He wants a venue change. So who knows what will happen with that. Doubtful he'll get it, but you can always hashtag replay, Ange. All right, so this article here is from the Columbian, and it's pretty random, but it just came out yesterday. And it says how a DNA technique to pin Brian Kohberger as the Idaho murder suspect could shape case law. So remember when Gabriella Vargas testified in Brian Kohberger's hearing about how they do their family trees and how they, come up with a suspect. And basically what she admitted was that even though people had opted out, they were still able to use a back door and look at people and the people that have opted out, they can still go in the back door and see those people, which leads them to their suspect. So it was no surprise that Gabriella Vargas has been able to solve a lot of cases that way. So here we have, I'm going to just read through this. What if Brian Coburger, the man charged with the University of Idaho student stabbings, helped lead police right to him? His own attorneys may raise the question, including at trial, in their efforts to defend him. Coburger is accused of killing 4 U of I students in November of 2022 in a case that continues to collect national intrigue. Totally. By the end, it could create new case law for criminal investigations across the U.S., legal scholars told the Idaho Statesman. Ann Taylor, Coburger's lead public defender, said that she has repeatedly pored over law enforcement's evidence summary to justify his arrest and wants to know what led police to her client as a suspect. This is Ann Taylor's quote. "The clear picture that I'm concerned about is the state's pathway to how Brian Kohberger comes to their attention and is identified." Taylor told the court at a hearing last month, "Over a year into the case, and we're not sure. I know different pieces, but I don't know how they fit together." So, thank you, Shell. So what do you guys think about them still being in the dark about this information? Seems a little shady to me. Depending on the circumstances that come to light, it could be grounds for a constitutional rights challenge over the methods police used to find and charge Coburger. In a probable cause affidavit, police described using traditional investigative techniques to arrive at Coburger as the suspected killer and close an almost 7-week manhunt that confoundedly ended on the other side of the country in eastern Pennsylvania. DNA evidence also factored for police to allege they had their suspect, but only after the other elements established through surveillance footage of the suspect's car and Coburger's cell phone location data fell into place. But 6 months after Coburger's December 2022 arrest, state prosecutors acknowledged for the first time that an advanced DNA technique known as investigative genetic genealogy, or IGG, initially led investigators to Coburger. The process involves submitting DNA located at a crime scene to public genealogy websites to build a family tree related to possible suspects and narrow an investigation. Police made no mention of the FBI's use of IGG in the affidavit. A single source of male DNA was pulled and processed from a leather sheath for a K-bar combat-style knife discovered under one of the 4 stabbing victims at the off-campus Moscow home. The 4 U of I students were Maddie, Kaylee, Xana, and Ethan. In the court filing that revealed the FBI's use of IGG, Latah County Prosecutor Bill Thompson argued that the state was not required to disclose the technique. This has always bothered me, this technique. Ever since that Gabriella got on the stage or on the stand, it's always bothered me that they did this in a backhanded way. Like, if you opt out, your shit's not supposed to be seen through a back door or anywhere. Prosecutors did not intend to introduce it at trial, he said, and it was irrelevant to Coburger's defense. So this is where it confuses me. From what I'm understanding is that they want to say, doesn't really matter how we got there. Just matters that we got there. So y'all don't need to see how we got there. You just need to accept that we did get there. Am I understanding that correctly? Because I agree with that. Like, I picture myself, like, if I was on trial or I was in trouble for something, I would want to know every step of the way. And here we are, February of 2024, and they're reluctant, almost insisting they don't need to give it to them, to the defense. Mike C. says the FBI doesn't need to explain their tools. But is a defendant entitled to that? Because we know that, right? The FBI does underhanded shit. That's why they sent the FBI to Varga's house to shut her the fuck up, because they've been doing it underhanded. But who's going to reel in the FBI in this situation? And could it affect the outcome of this? But they said they don't need the DNA to have probable cause, remember? When they filled out the paperwork for the warrant in Pullman, they said that they did not need, if they didn't want to include the DNA, they didn't have to. So it doesn't sound like they're really counting on that. But then on the other hand, isn't that part of the puzzle where you've got the car on surveillance, you've got the DNA on the sheath? I don't trust this DNA shit. I don't trust this DNA stuff. Ever since Gabriella got on the stand and said what they do, I don't trust it. And I would never, and I've said this a billion times, I would never give them my DNA, knowing what I know now. I agree, Meg P. Okay, that's fair enough, Mike C. If they have like cameras in the house, like if there was some other shit going on that we've talked about, you know, all the different theories of what could have been going on, maybe they didn't need the DNA. I'm reading something in the Columbian, so let's keep going. Prosecutors did not intend to introduce it at trial, and it was irrelevant, Thompson said. Instead, they plan to present a comparison of DNA from Coburger's cheek against the knife sheath DNA, which showed a statistical match. And this is a quote from Thompson. The IGG process pointed law enforcement toward Kohberger, but it did not provide law enforcement with substantive evidence of guilt. The IGG information is not material to the preparation of the defense. I'm not a lawyer, and I think we need to unleash the lawyers on this one. I might need to give Dimitri a call. Because how does Bill Thompson know what's material to the defense? Like, I don't think that's his call, because he shouldn't know what their defense is. So how does he know if it's material to them or not? I don't think he can say that. Unleash the lawyers, but what the heck? I know my soundbite's not working.
I think you've got a Ouija board down your pants. You're going to pull that out.
Well, and then we're going to follow the trail of the DNA because they sent it to a couple different places. So let's keep going. For 8 months, the two sides fought over the release of the IGG. Now, why fight over this so hard? Why fight it so hard? If they have a solid case, why not just hand it over? So what would be their reluctance in handing it over, do you think? And this is one of those lives where we're going to bounce things off each other. Because sometimes I need to talk things out. I can only talk to myself so much. It's touch DNA on the knife sheath, but it was such a small amount that they had to send it to a special lab because they didn't have enough. They didn't have the technology to do it.
You're what the French call les incompetents.
Oh, here you go. This is for you, Dre, for your birthday.
Cocaine, cocaine,
Cocaine.
cocaine.
It's cocaine. Cheryl T's screaming at me about how we prosecuted cases before. Okay, so I got this for free from Streamlabs. It's my, I don't know, I reached a certain level. It's a star shirt. Look. It says Streamlabs on the back. It's pretty cool, though. I pay them every month, so at least I get some rewards. Stinks like Dinah.
Sit down, bitch, sit down.
Whew, damn, that thing stinks. I gotta get it away. Because they could have committed fraud posing as someone else on the registry to get info. So nothing half-assed. I think what Gabriella said was that they went in a back door and they used people's info that opted out. They didn't want their stuff used by law enforcement, and law enforcement said too damn bad, and FBI does it anyway, according to her. So then the FBI went to her house after she testified. So, all right, so we're going to get to this because remember Brian had those other two DNA people, Leah Larkin and someone else. Tiffany Roy, a longtime forensic DNA expert, said Coburger's defense team is perhaps working towards leveraging its recent access to the FBI records to make a constitutional rights claim against illegal searches and seizures under the Fourth Amendment. Prosecutors' attempts to conceal information about the use of IGG to identify a suspect alone should give the public pause, said Tiffany Roy. Tiffany Roy also has a law degree, and she's saying this. Already, the Kohberger case has broken new ground, according to David Gurney, director of the IGG Center and professor of law and society at Ramapo College in New Jersey. Never before in a case has the defense team received access to this level of IGG records and discovery. So maybe Brian Coburger, hey Clinker, maybe Brian Coburger is pushing the envelope because they've never seen this much IGG and that's already been released to them.
Brian Coburger.
The next battle between the attorneys on each side of the Kohberger case could be over whether the defense will be allowed to present IGG evidence to the jury at trial. IGG records have been introduced at trial a couple of times before, but only when prosecutors chose to do so when they felt it beneficial to the case. It's potentially novel in that way, Gurney said, explaining the defense's potential strategy if it comes to fruition. He says, quote, I would try to get all this information in front of the jury. I would try to just muddy the waters by showing, oh, the state did all these bad things, so therefore you should just not trust them at all. Boom. Is that what Brian Kohberger is trying to do with his defense? Let's hope that the 51 terabytes of digital evidence makes this just completely obsolete. But if it makes it not needed, why hold it back? Is it for the privacy of the people on the tree? Why would they hold it back from the defense? Hey, Bridget Servey 319. Why would they hold it back from the defense? What would be the point in holding it back? You know? For instance, prosecutors have not publicly disclosed which genealogy websites police used to land on Coburger, only that the FBI submitted the crime scene data, DNA, to one or more of the publicly available services. Law enforcement primarily works with two lesser-known websites called GEDmatch and Family Tree DNA. But has at least in some past instances, I can't talk today, found ways to access DNA profiles on a more widely used platform with more users. They have access to GEDmatch and Family Tree DNA, and that's it, said Tiffany Roy. So if they didn't get what they wanted from those databases and need to fish around in other databases, I would be really uncomfortable with that. I don't even think it's legal for the sisters to lose their jobs. I don't know if I believe that. Wouldn't those people be his family? Right. Like, hi, Potato. What's the big deal? The FBI doesn't want them to know how. But Bridget, or what? Not Bridget. Gabriella already said how. Ancestry.com and 23andMe are much more popular competitors in the genealogy industry, but neither of the direct-to-consumer services cooperates with law enforcement, according to their websites. Instead, investigators have, in other cases, previously reviewed DNA profiles on MyHeritage, yet another of the genealogy platforms available online. The reason that they would have done it if they did is it gives you access to a much larger number of people, a much larger number of matches, and in theory will make your job easier. If the IGG records now in the defense's possession divulge that FBI investigators conducted themselves in an improper way or violated expectations of privacy to get to Coburger, it may help create legal openings for creating doubt about the evidence. It's a good tool, but the question is, does it violate civil rights? Said Greg Hampikian, a biology professor at Boise State who heads the Idaho Innocence Project. Some say that it's just another technique, but this technique involves something more intimate than a body cavity search. It's in every cell of your body search. It's very invasive. Faced with the task of defending Kohberger, LA-based criminal defense attorney Josh Ritter said he would pursue the same approach and try to create questions in the minds of jurors about the DNA evidence. Now, if they make doubt about the DNA evidence and the processes that were used, is that going to create doubt with the whole investigation? I think everybody agrees this case rises and falls on that DNA, Ritter said. Their ability to match Kohberger to the knife sheath at the crime scene is the seminal quarter piece of the evidence. Police also said they linked the crime scene DNA to other DNA acquired from the trash they took from Kohberger's family home in Pennsylvania. The comparison showed that the DNA from the trash was the male suspect's biological father with nearly 100% certainty. Okay, another question. Just thinking out loud here. If they matched it to Brian's dad, does that mean he came up in their IGG? I'm confused. This whole thing, it's like a cluster. I can't imagine being a jury and understanding this and thinking it's on the up and up. I don't think it's everything. I'm just talking about it because that's what they're going to be talking about in the hearing, Mike. I just want to know why they're so hesitant to hand over what they have. I mean, I don't know. I hope they have more than that because I hope they're not trying to, call anybody's bluff on that because they told Steve to relax. Yeah, it's easy to say. And this whole town, and I agree with Megs, this whole town is strange. The connections are strange. The whole thing. Yeah, they shouldn't be doing that, Mary Goff. So my point is this. If that information they got like through the back door, that shouldn't be allowed. Plain and simple. I don't think that's right. Hope I kind of remember something about that. But Coburger is kind of German. I just don't like this whole DNA stuff. I don't trust it. I don't like how you can touch something and then it's used in a crime. Like, I get they have other stuff, but I'm just saying as a whole, not just with Coburger. That's what I'm saying. Could this change the way they investigate is what I'm saying. Because the cat's out of the bag. Like Gabrielle Vargas got up there and testified to what they do. And she's not supposed to do that. She's not law enforcement. Right, I get it. Okay, they probably do have more than that to convict him. But I'm talking about in the future. This is concerning to me. Right? Okay, great. They have more to convict Coburger. Wonderful. I get that. But what I'm saying is, what about in a case where they don't? What about in a case where they're relying on this DNA and they're going through these back doors, getting it ways they're not supposed to get it? Is that fair? Because it seems to me we have a lot of unsolved DNA that needs to be tested that's just sitting on shelves. Cold cases just sitting on shelves. I mean, that's one thing for them to work on that, but with an active case? Yeah, the loopholes are totally illegal. But Mike, it's such a small amount that you could have laid in that bed and your DNA would have been in the bed. They're talking about the most small microscopic little piece. Like the lady who owns Othram, she was like, if I go like this and touch your shoulder, we can get DNA from me touching your shoulder. We have to be fucking careful with that, man. I don't know. Are they going to go back and look at old cases? That's kind of scary to me. We are supposed to be able to trust the FBI and their tactics to be above board. And if they're not above board, why are they letting average citizens in on the secret? Because now it's out of the bag. You got some lady, Gabrielle Vargas, who goes on media shows and shit. You think that their cat's not out of the bag? Is it going to change now? Let's keep going. Police also said they linked the crime scene DNA to other DNA acquired from the trash. I already said that. The critical role of the case's DNA evidence is likely to play is precisely why Coburger's attorneys have made it a focal point of their pretrial efforts. They've never admitted to going in the back door and using people's information that opted out ever. Ever. But that's how they caught the Green River killer. So are we going to complain? I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like it. It's a slippery slope, in my opinion, especially when they're getting down to, something smaller than I can even see with my eyeballs, that they can get off my t-shirt because someone touched me or I touched somebody. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. The critical role of the case's DNA evidence is likely to play is precisely why Coburger's attorneys made it a focal point. Several attorneys and DNA experts told the Statesman, successfully securing the IGG records was the first step. Because you know what? Because they did it illegally. They don't want the defense to have it. They don't want the defense to have it. Why? Because they came in through the back door. That's why. That's what I think. Y'all think that? Let's do a poll. Do you think that they won't hand it over? Because remember they kept saying, oh, we've got to give it. We got to get it from the FBI. We don't have it. We don't have it. We don't have it. They kept saying, we don't have it. We don't have it. We don't have it. And we don't know if there's any other DNA under the snap. We don't know that. They just said his was. There could have been 5 DNAs. How can someone make that knife? And I'm not saying he didn't do it. I'm just talking out loud with this DNA business. How do we know the person who in China who made the knife didn't leave their DNA on there? Are we going to go to China and look for that guy? I don't get it. So then the other thing is, think about JonBenet Ramsey. She had on brand new underwear. There was DNA in the underwear from where they were made. I mean, where do we draw the line with this backdoor business?
Don't make me a dog-faced lion pony soldier.
And there was DNA evidence in the OJ case. It's here to stay, and it's going to get even more microscopic. For the love of God, they have artificial intelligence that can do just about anything. So I guess we should just hope and pray that our microscopic DNA doesn't end up on something that someone uses to off another person. It's just scary to me. I mean, it's neat. I love it for cold cases. For active cases, it's a little bit scary. I mean, is there ever a saying that it's too precise? There was DNA evidence in the OJ case. And they found it was OJ's blood. There was DNA in the 90s. There was 45 blood stains introduced at the OJ trial with their DNA evidence. 2 types, I'm reading it right now. 2 types of DNA tests were used in the OJ trial.
The devil is dancing tonight.
Yeah, the lack of DNA evidence in his car doesn't surprise me at all. Okay, let's continue because I got another article to go through. I'm sweating bullets. The use of IGG and order of events in the Moscow investigation leading up to Coburger's arrest are crucial to providing a sound defense. We can't articulate to you, because of the lack of the data, the sequence of exactly how they got to our client and what happened when and in what order, said Alyssa Massith, another of Coburger's defense attorneys. That's Smiley. Alyssa is Smiley, the one that's always smiling. She says, And if it's shown that law enforcement brushed up against privacy rules in their pursuit of a suspect through IGG, she said the defense is eyeing a constitutional challenge. And they also don't want the defense when they did hand over some of it. So they got some of it. And the ones they did hand over had a stipulation that they won't contact anyone on that list. Look at OJ's son, Kristen. Look at OJ's oldest son. Thompson, however, in addition, swabs of a suspect's cheek for DNA are legal with a search warrant. A criminal defendant who is discovered through investigative techniques such as IGG cannot vicariously assert the Fourth Amendment rights of others whose privacy may have been violated from a lack of consent. Thompson, however, tried to get ahead of a possible Fourth Amendment claim. In his arguments against the judge giving the defense to IGG records used to find him, the defense would first have to establish that the defendant had a, quote, reasonable expectation of privacy to allege that law enforcement committed such a violation. He says the K-bar knife sheath was abandoned at the crime scene, as was the DNA inside it. Defendant cannot show that he had a reasonable expectation of privacy in DNA left at the scene of a quadruple homicide or in the genetic information of his relatives, who voluntarily provided their own DNA to a genetic genealogy service. In addition, law enforcement did not use the FBI's IGG results in support of Coburger's arrest or any search warrants obtained by police. Jeff Nye, the chief deputy for the Idaho Attorney General's Criminal Law Division, said. So that's another one of the attorneys on the prosecution side is Jeff Nye. He's the chief deputy for the Idaho Attorney General. The assertion would seem to target arguments that any evidence investigators produce afterwards is spoiled because it was illegally obtained and therefore inadmissible at trial based on the so-called fruit of the poisonous tree doctrine. Likewise, Brandon Garrett, a constitutional law professor at Duke University's law school, is skeptical. This is giving you both sides now of a possible civil liberties claim over law enforcement's use of publicly available information as part of a criminal investigation. The use of advanced genetic tools is just a few decades old, and the courts would have been slow to consider granting what would essentially be new privacy right protected under the Fourth Amendment. If a person using a genealogy website didn't agree to allow police to include their DNA profile for IGG searches, it amounts to a possible violation of the terms of service by law enforcement. But I'm not sure if it raises constitutional questions. It raises a larger question of, is there a constitutional right to genetic privacy? And we don't have clear answers. We don't know what the courts will do with it, even if it is super interesting and an important problem. Now, if I submit my DNA and I say, I don't want anybody else accessing it except your company to tell me X, Y, and Z, and the FBI doesn't anyway, A, what the hell am I going to do about it? Am I going to get a constitutional rights lawyer and sue the FBI? I mean, what are you going to do? Where is this going? I don't like it. And should there be a constitutional right to genetic privacy? If Queen Virgo's here, I'm addicted to this cuticle oil. It's like in a little pen. I'm addicted to it. It smells good and it's amazing. Oh, I'm not saying Brian didn't do it. I'm just saying that this DNA thing creeps me out. I don't like it. Well, I think the point is, Renat, that he was able to clean up his DNA and he didn't leave any DNA. Because the point is there would be DNA of someone, right? So we have no rights when it comes to that. Even with our genetic DNA, do you know, guys, that you can use DNA, and I'm not trying to scare you, but I'm sure you guys already know this, but you can use DNA to clone people. So if I give my DNA, because I want to find out where I'm from, which I would never suggest doing, I wouldn't want that to be put out there. Oh, he did? OJ has been to the corner club? Why offer opt out if nothing is off limits? Right. It's a false sense of security. It's a false sense of security when you click opt out. If people like Gabrielle Vargas are going to go, oh, I'm going to look at these people anyways. Fuck them. Candy. I know. They'll give my DNA back. I'm not worried about it. But y'all are pretty awesome. I'm worried about you. So in the August hearing last year, the judge prodded the defense on the relevance of the IGG records, including in a hypothetical situation where the FBI was found to have skirted the rules to arrive at Coburger. He questioned whose constitutional rights would have been violated in the circumstance. The judge said, I don't want to get into the Fourth Amendment issue here. I think that's a gray area for sure. What it suggests is that folks should probably be cautious about sending their spit to some corporation. This is the judge. This is the judge. Right, but if my cousin allows it, fine. But if my cousin doesn't allow it and they find me through my cousin and my cousin said no, then that's wrong. That's all I'm saying. I don't want to get into the Fourth Amendment because it's a gray area. What it suggests is that folks should probably be cautious about sending their spit to some corporation. But I don't know how much that's going to bear on what ultimately happens given the sequence of what happened with Mr. Coburger. After police found the knife sheath, the Idaho State Police Crime Lab in Meridian. So the Idaho State Police Crime Lab located the DNA on the snap. No matches were found. So the DNA was sent to an unidentified private lab to complete the IGG process. That lab is believed to be Texas-based Othram, which Idaho State Police has maintained a contract with for forensic genetic work, including IGG, since summer of 2021. The defense has twice said the private lab was Othram, though prosecutors have never confirmed the name of the lab involved. And Othram has not responded for statement. Law enforcement working the Coburger case decided the FBI would take over the IGG process. Why? Why? Why did they decide to give it to the FBI? So they could go through the back door. And investigators began building family trees to try to get a suspect. Was it investigators or was it this girl, Gabrielle Vargas? That's a wood maker. I don't want Gabrielle Vargas having my information. I'm just going to say that right there. Like the FBI, I'm not so sus about them using my information to catch criminals. But I don't want my shit sitting in Gabrielle Vargas's house with her parents shitting on my DNA paperwork and it getting lost or thrown in the garbage and someone gets their mitts on my information. I don't trust that. It's so unprofessional. It's not right. And she admitted that they do it wrong and they do it the way they're not supposed to. And I don't like it. Do you want your DNA and all your family tree information in Gabrielle Vargas's hands? Not me.
And you know what I have to say to Ann C. Taylor, the defense lawyer? Bring it on, woman.
My daughter-in-law just did it. She just sent her DNA off last week. I said, what are you doing? She did it. I want to find out where I'm from. Ugh. I bet your hamburger and chickens we eat are clone. Ew. Who would come knocking to her, though? That's the question. Who's asking her to look into this stuff? Is it GEDmatch? Is it her? Is it FBI? Who's she working with? You guys, she was on like a 48 hours episode. Yes, she's got like a parrot that sits around her house. Yeah, out in the open. Sits on her shoulder and she uses a saw. She makes furniture or some shit. It's the weirdest story I've ever heard. Lavender says I did it years ago. No, the FBI visited her after she testified at Coburger's. Hey, Sirius. Yeah, she has a parrot, guys. Meg, she has lots of animals. I'm going to take these off. I'm too hot with them on right now. It's getting hot in here.
You're being a Karen.
So hot in here.
She contracts personally, like Gabrielle Vargas contracts with the FBI directly. Oh, there's nothing against parrots. It's just I don't want my shit laying around her house. That's all. Okay, let's finish this article. Maybe we can watch a little bit of her testimony. All right. Law enforcement working the Kohberger case decided that the FBI would take over the IGG process. And investigators began building family trees to try to get a suspect. The FBI then sent a tip to local police to investigate, but produced limited records in the process and removed the DNA profile from the genealogy websites they used, per Department of Justice policy. Nonetheless, Judge at least partially awarded the IGG records to Coburger's defense team. Ritter, the LA-based criminal defense attorney, said the decision prevented a possible constitutional challenge under the 14th Amendment over alleged due process violations from prosecutors refusing to turn over records showing how police came to suspect Kohberger. The state's argument that the IGG investigation is wholly irrelevant since it was not used in obtaining any warrants and will not be used at this trial is well supported, Judge ruled in October. Nonetheless, Coburger is entitled to view at least some of the IGG information in preparing his defense, even if it ultimately may be found irrelevant. So this Wednesday, a hearing is set to clarify how the defense may use those IGG records. So what that will be interesting to find out. That's why I wanted to go over this stuff, because it's a lot to take in, and it doesn't always make sense right away, at least for me. Still, another scenario could exist. The FBI may have used the crime scene DNA to conduct an IGG search and instead landed directly on Coburger's own DNA profile on a genealogy website.
So is that a joint?
This would give them a direct hit for the possible suspect. Coburger, more than a year before the UI of student homicides, told a fellow WSU graduate living in the same on-campus housing complex in Pullman that he had submitted his DNA for testing to learn about his ancestry. The neighbor spoke on condition of anonymity over privacy concerns. He talked about his ancestors. He said he had some sort of DNA test. I don't know how he got to that point. It was just interesting to him. Suddenly, the possible constitutional implications would no longer be about the DNA left at the scene or the rights of the genealogy website customers who didn't agree to allow law enforcement to access their profiles in a criminal investigation. Under this potential scenario, Coburger himself would not have consented for his DNA profile to be used in such a way. So even if it's his, they're saying, oh, well, he didn't opt in. I don't know if that fucking matters or not, but it shouldn't. I think that scenario could be really interesting from a constitutional perspective, he said. It's not clearly a vicarious claim because it's him making a claim for himself. The chances of that remain low, even if Coburger previously submitted his DNA to a genealogy website. Most people either use Ancestry.com or 23andMe, which law enforcement can't access. Do we know that they can't access it? Do we know that? Even though they say they can't. I mean, look at what was going on, right? You opt out and they can still use your stuff. So I don't trust any of them. It says that they can't, okay, but other possibilities remain. Kohberger could have downloaded his DNA profile from either service and then submitted to GEDmatch or Family Tree DNA, but still not agreed to allow law enforcement to use it in investigations. Thus, the potential constitutional claims for a criminal defendant. It's never happened in any case that I'm aware of, Gurney said. We've had cases where there's a sibling or parents or something, but no one I know in this field has ever encountered a violent criminal who was so stupid as to upload their own DNA into any of these databases. In one other scenario, Coburger could have originally sent his DNA to MyHeritage to produce a DNA profile. FBI investigators then would have to upload the crime scene DNA to the website while conducting an IGG review against the terms of service, but as the federal agency has previously been known to do, Gurney and Roy said, and landed on the exact match for the suspect. I think it would be unethical, Gurney said. It would be something that I would strongly urge them not to do, but it's not illegal for them to access the MyHeritage database if that's indeed what happened. Even so, Ritter saw the possible constitutional implications if the FBI did violate MyHeritage's terms of service, which in turn could be argued also violated Coburger's Fourth Amendment rights. Defense attorneys, he said, might be able to argue that it wasn't only the use of his own DNA profile that infringed on his expectation of privacy, but also the use of his DNA's connections to relatives, which also would identify him based on the agreement he struck with the genealogy company when he paid for the service. It might be the devil's in the details situation, he said. It raises the question. This is the question. Why am I frozen? I'm froze up again. Look at me. I'm froze. For Christ's sake. I guess there goes that. You're not going to see me the rest of the stream. Well, fuck a duck.
Psychopathy.
If it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a duck.
That's exactly what this article said. It could be wrong, Amy, but let's finish it and then we'll go back and read that again. Is the FBI operating in that gray area and using this website that people believe has their information and is being protected from law enforcement when it's really not? He does have a direct expectation of privacy Frozen shock face. It's happening everywhere. You guys can still hear me okay, right? Let me know. Put a 1 in chat if y'all can hear me okay. He does have a direct expectation of privacy, and what is that expectation is outlined on that website clearly enough that he had an expectation, not only his individual profile, but any kind of collateral revelations from that DNA. Whew, that was a mouthful. I mean, Othram is doing wonderful, wonderful things. They have solved so many cases. Okay. So I'm sorry I had to go off camera. Let me try it one more time and see if I bet you it still froze. Watch. Ah! Frozen shock phase on YouTube. Okay. As long as the sound is good, we can still continue. So it raises a lot of questions, not only about is it right or is it wrong, but it also raises questions about, are they going to do this in the future now that, people know? Does it matter? Does it matter to you guys? If your aunt, puts her DNA out there and they find you from that. The whole thing is a clusterfuck to me. And I'm not against that, but when they have such a small amount that we know of, and it just, I guess it's worrisome. And that's exactly what Brian wants us to see, is that it's worrisome. So there's another article I found that was interesting. This is from the Genealogy Explains website. And this is an interesting article. We're going to zip through this really fast. Brian Coburger was arrested in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. We know all of that. A DNA profile of a single male suspect was developed from biological tissue located on the button snap of the knife sheath. The knife that was stamped with the U.S. Marine Corps insignia, including K-bar. The knife itself, which may be the murder weapon, has not been located. The DNA profile was submitted to CODIS, but there were no hits. The FGG investigation was conducted by the FBI in partnership with the Moscow Police Department. At first, an unnamed private lab was engaged to generate an SNP profile and perform the genealogical research. Okay, so let's talk about this. This is weird how it happened. The FGG investigation was conducted by the FBI in partnership with Moscow. At first, an unnamed private lab was engaged to generate an SNP profile and perform the research. It was later determined that the FBI would take over the investigation. The initial confirmation was made to DNA belonging to Brian's father, and that was taken from the trash outside the family residence in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. Kinship testing indicated that the subject was most likely the father of the suspect whose DNA was found on the knife sheath. The final confirmation was made by comparing the DNA on the knife sheath with that of Coburger himself. This produced a random match probability, RMP, which we hear about in these cases, this octillion, like it's him, right? Which indicates the probability that this DNA profile is expected to be found in an individual in the population selected at random. Investigators have indicated that there is other evidence against Kohberger, including telephone records, where he turned off his phone. There were 2 residents of the home who survived the attack. One heard crying. One saw a male and walked past her. Frozen shock phase. The male suspect was 5'10", athletic, Surveillance video also showing the white Elantra, which we know all about that. The case is legally significant because the defense has asked for disclosure relating to the FGG investigation. On June 6, 2023, the prosecution sought a protection order. So the prosecution wanted a protection order to block information about the investigation or the relatives on the family tree from being publicly disclosed. The prosecution has argued that the investigation does not tend to negate the defendant's guilt or lessen his punishment, nor is it exculpatory and is therefore not subject to disclosure. Police are not required to account to the accused for all investigatory work that has been done on a case. So is it possible that it was someone close to him that caught, that helped match him? What do you think? And they don't want him to know who that was. Do you think that's a possibility? It says here, police are not required to account to the accused for all investigatory work that has been done on a case. That answers our question. Police are not required to account to the accused for all investigatory work that has been done on a case. This goes through the motions. Hold on. The defense argued that the police investigation may have been compromised by tunnel vision, such that they suspected Coburger early on and then deliberately or unconsciously managed the evidence to more clearly implicate him. They have argued that they are entitled to know how, when, and why Coburger first came to their attention. So I don't think they've ever have to disclose that. Like, this is how we found your ass. The bottom line is we found you and you match. I think it's just always been a different scenario, not so much like this scenario. They locate these guys with all kinds of different investigative tactics, but they don't sit there and go, okay, this is exactly how we found you. Like, no. Especially when they interrogate someone, they're like, you're here, and they can lie while you're there, right? They can lie to you in interrogations. So I think that I don't think it's going to be granted. I don't think he's going to be granted all of it. So the defense has argued also that the FGG investigation and family tree may disclose alternative suspects the FBI ignored. The defense also raised the possibility that the FBI was using DNA databases that do not permit law enforcement access or otherwise misusing personal information. They have also suggested that the DNA may have been planted on the sheath by investigators seeking to inculpate Coburger. Under Idaho law, the defense is required to disclose evidence they will present in court of an alibi. Coburger's defense team filed that motion on August 2nd, 2023, indicating he was driving alone at the time of the murders and that there are no witnesses who can corroborate his whereabouts. So if no witnesses can corroborate his whereabouts, how does Bethany Funk have exculpatory evidence? I don't think she does. I think that's a bunch of bullarchy put in a motion. All right. Leah Larkin is another one that's worked Coburger's case. On August 9th, 2023, Coburger's defense team filed an affidavit from Leah Larkin. Dr. Larkin is an expert in genetic genealogy who has developed many tools used by the genetic genealogy community. In her affidavit, Dr. Larkin describes the process of genetic genealogy and sets out her concerns regarding privacy and consent. She states she is aware of one, a case in which the chain of custody failed and the wrong SNP profile was sent to the wrong client. 2, the uploading of SNP profiles to consumer DNA sites that forbid this. 3, FGG being used for a case that did not meet the standards set out in the Department of Justice's interim policy threshold. 4, security loopholes at GEDmatch that allow genetic genealogists to see kits that are opted out of law enforcement matching. And 5, a case in which an SNP profile was performed on an innocent woman without her consent. Issue number 2 may refer to Case ID 1991, the identification of Juana Rosas Zagel, and where Dr. Larkin has written on this allegation. Issue 3 may refer to Case ID 1939 and the identification of William Arnold, who escaped from prison for the double murder of his parents and was a wanted fugitive. Dr. Larkin criticized the use of FGG in this case because she disagreed that there was a public safety issue at stake. Give me a break. This guy killed his parents, and she's worried that his rights are being violated? She's a quack.
If it looks like a duck, walks like a duck.
On
acts
August
like a duck,
17th,
it's a duck.
2023, investigative genetic genealogist Gabriela Vargas filed an affidavit on behalf of the defense. She testified that databases used for FGG have loopholes that allow a genetic genealogist to view matches that have not agreed to opt in for law enforcement matching, contrary to the terms and conditions of their use. She also states that practitioners of FGG have been uploading law enforcement samples to these sites as consumers to avoid paying fees associated with law enforcement use, which is also against the terms and conditions of the site. Vargas testified to these matters at a pretrial hearing on August 18th, 2023. The hearing was to determine whether and how much of the materials, genetic genealogical materials, would be disclosed to the defense. On the same day, Jordan Smith published similar information in The Intercept. Information was provided that there was a loophole in GEDmatch, which permitted FGG investigators to search profiles that have not opted in. In some cases, IDs were made using kits that had opted out. This is described as a long-known secret in the field, one that was publicly revealed at the Ramapo College IGG conference in July of 2023. Smith also mentioned the case of Juana Rosas Zagel and the allegations that a profile was uploaded to MyHeritage in that case. Neither the Riverside County Sheriff's Office nor the DA commented on the matter. Smith also raised the issue that individuals were being asked to do target testing and in so doing provide investigators access to their matches, the terms of service. None of the consumer DNA companies commented on these matters. In response, Margaret Press of the DNA Doe Project issued a statement admitting that the organization made a mistake when it made use of tools at GEDmatch to view profiles that had not opted in between May of 2019 and January of 2021. She stated that this reflected the culture and thinking at a time when GEDmatch opted all profiles out of law enforcement matching and began to require users to opt in. She stated that this was wrong and that she regrets doing so. So in the beginning, everybody was opted out. Then they changed it where you have to opt in. So here, we're not really here to argue his guilt or innocence through this. This is just an issue that has come up and is being talked about in the genetic genealogy world. And whether they've been doing it all along or not, it's now become an issue because of
Brian Coburger.
he's a pain in the ass. But I think he knows what he's doing. I think he's studied all of this ish. And I think he knows what he's doing for sure. And they brought that Gabriella in to admit the loophole. So it would make everything questionable too, right? Surveillance and getting discarded items in public areas. So are we to believe that all they had was the DNA? They didn't know who did this. They started with that and got his dad. It's so weird. I can't wait to have this all unfold, right? Let's go over to YouTube for a minute and see. I know I have an old video on Gabriella with some of her testimony, but I don't know if I'll be able to find it right away. Let me see. What's for dinner tonight, guys? It's 4:20 on the East Coast over here in Clearwater, Florida. Studio J on Monday Live. Yeah, I think they're just trying to discredit the whole investigative process to just general doubt, overall blanket doubt on the whole process of how they investigated and found
just
Brian Coburger.
Creep town, dude.
Have you guys seen the new 48 Hours on Corey Richens? Pork chops and applesauce. I love you too, Auntie Cheryl. Yeah, I mean, they're doing their job, right? They're doing their job. I might have to open this door. It's getting really hot in here. Hot in.
Hey, bro. Hey, bro. I ain't finished.
I ain't finished my sentence.
Nothing you.
So hot in here.
I've got a video on Othram. That's not the one I'm looking for, though. I'm looking for Gabriella Vargas. Maybe I should just do a search. Oh, here we go. All right. How long is this one?
There's really no justification for it. You think you're doing the right thing, you want to help, and
let's watch this for a second and see.
I'm going to ask you a question and then come back to it in a minute. What kind of work do you currently do? I am an investigative genetic genealogist and also a woodworker. Woodworking sounds really interesting. I think we're going to focus on your investigative genealogy.
The audio is terrible. I forgot about that.
Your work history. I want to know a little bit more about your educational background. After high school, did you have more formal education? I did. I went on to the College of San Mateo and received.
I forgot how horrible that audio is. Tricks the system. Here's a 2-minute clip. This is what I was looking for.
I then would go to utilize the manipulation tool, the loophole. You would then go click the top match and run their matches. So the top match of your subject's top match, you would run their matches, okay? Once you run their matches, there is a tool that allows you to edit that list of matches. So we're looking at the matches of the subject's top relative, not the subject's matches, right? When you edit the kit list, if you put the subject's kit number into this tool that you're going to now analyze, these matches, it tricks the system and allows you to see matches that you wouldn't have seen when you ran your initial match list.
And those can be people that did not agree with law enforcement to see their DNA.
Those matches that are revealed are only matches that have been opted out.
And that is only the ones that are supposed to be.
They're only the ones. If you see that the subject matches one of these people, because again, you're not looking at your subject's matches, you're looking at that person's top cousin, let's say, that top cousin's matches, right? When you put your subject's kit number in there, you're going to see now his kit, her kit, compared against the matches of their top match. When you find, you then scroll down and you look, oh, here's the match for 100 centimorgans. You go back to your screen where you have your list of your subject matches and you say, I don't have a match with 100 centimorgans. That proves that that person has opted out of law enforcement matching, but I'm still able to see them.
Okay, but after that testimony, she got visited by 2 FBI agents at her house, telling her to STFU. So they're saying that she was harassed by FBI agents. Here's one more clip of her. This music.
I was contacted by defense. Well, I take that back. I was contacted by somebody in this field. I don't know if I can say who it was, or I don't know if I can say who it was, if it's relevant. Asking if I would be willing to talk to the defense. And I agreed, and I had that, it was a Zoom call in which I was asked basically just to explain the process in which I go through from start to finish on a case. So what is, from when law enforcement contacts me to when I provide the investigative lead back to law enforcement, what is the process? And that was the extent of my involvement at the time.
Because you're a liar.
Oops. Whoops.
Brian Coburger.
So does that make more sense how she described it there? Hopefully. But yeah, I want to talk about one more thing before we conclude our Monday Live, because I will see you guys at 8:00 Eastern Standard Time tonight. It's a 45-minute premiere tonight. So you'll be done by 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But 48 Hours over the weekend released a new episode on the Corey Richens case. Corey Richens is accused of poisoning her husband with fentanyl and killing him in a Moscow mule. Oh, it's a tongue twister. But anyways, there's a new 48 Hours out, and her mother is now speaking out. So I wanted to play this clip and see if any of you have seen it. It was on Paramount Plus. It's not on YouTube yet, I don't think.
She wrote a children's book about grief to help her own kids deal with the sudden death of their father.
We'll be following this
trial. She promoted
trial
the book
too
on local TV.
He was 39. It completely took us all by shock.
But in a major plot twist, Corey Richens was later accused of killing her husband Eric with a Moscow Mule cocktail, spiked with a lethal dose of fentanyl.
For anybody who knows Corey, she could not
That's
have
her
done
mom.
this. She'd never do this.
Now in a 48 hours exclusive, Natalie Morales sits down with Corey Richens' mother.
She went back to get in her bed. He was cold. She went to push on him and he didn't respond. She said, "Get up here, something's happened to Eric."
Eric Richens was found dead on the floor of his Utah bedroom in March 2022. Corey is accused of drugging him after they argued over a multi-million-dollar real estate
Look at
deal.
that house.
Prosecutors claim
Where are they getting
Corey
money
also
for that?
secretly changed the beneficiary on a $2 million life insurance policy from Eric's business partner to herself.
Eric's family also told police Eric had told them that if anything happened to him, that Corey was to blame. And they also told police that they suspected that Corey had even tried to poison Eric twice before and had failed.
As Corey remains behind bars awaiting trial, her lawyer doesn't think there's much of a case.
They have to prove that she obtained drugs and gave them to her husband. And unless they can connect those dots, they're going to have a hard time proving murder in this case.
Ooh, I heard that. I heard that. Sky, her attorney. So we are definitely going to follow the Corey Richens case. If you guys happen to see this 48 hours, we'll talk about it after it comes out. We will definitely talk about this and follow this through to the end. Just a quick reminder, if you did not and have not heard On Air with Jay is for Justice, it feels weird that I can't go on camera. I'm frozen. But if you have not checked it out, please check it out. There I am. Hello, frozen. Okay, so check it out, and I'll see you guys at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight, hopefully. Happy birthday to Drea tomorrow. Let's dance it out. Let's roll our credits and dance it out. Thank you for being here. I've missed you guys. I can't wait until James Crumbly. Jury selection starts March 5th. I also have, do you guys remember the Kelsey Barrett case? I just got in my hot little hands jail calls of Patrick Frazee and his mom, Old Ma Frazee, whatever we called her, Old Ma Frazee. So those are going to be coming out soon too. So I'll see you guys in a few hours. Enjoy your evening. Love you guys. Thank you again for all your support.
Where do you think you're going? Nobody's leaving. Nobody's walking out on this fun old-fashioned family Christmas. No, we're all in this together.
I think our credits are broken. Let's try that again. If not, we're going to dance it out.
Where do you think you're going? Nobody's leaving. Nobody's walking out on this fun old-fashioned family Christmas. No, we're all in this together.
Be sure to check out my other videos and playlists for more true crime content. And if that's not enough, you can join our Patreon. Don't have a tinfoil hat? It's okay. We'll make you one. It's that easy. See you guys in the next video.
See you later. Bye.
I don't give a damn. I don't really care about you and your problems. I don't give a damn. You talk way too much. I have heard enough about you and your problems. I don't give a damn. 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 You wanna be,
a Ouija board down your pants. You're gonna pull that out.
You wanna feel something real, but I'm feeling differently. You're making plans, stick it to friends, but don't wanna
Cocaine, cocaine, it's cocaine.
My new shoes, hanging by the
don't want Jennifer or Jennifer.
Why were you telling her not to fuck herself?
Thanks so much, Jennifer.